Greetings everyone, my name is Andy, and as some of you already know, I am a huge, lifelong fan of the Mass Effect games. As such, I've been keeping a very close eye on the rumors about a potential Mass Effect Trilogy Remaster and/or remake that is in the works supposedly at BioWare. Now, while any remaster or remake is currently unconfirmed, it has been so widely discussed by a number of reputable sources to the point that its existence is now loosely accepted as a fact. And while this could all be false, a new rumor has surfaced on Reddit from a user claiming to be a quality assurance tester for Electronic Arts who has insider knowledge on the game and its development. But before we dive in, today's video is brought to you by our sponsor. Just kidding, it's brought to you by me. More importantly, by this exact channel. I haven't uploaded anything in some time now after promising regular content, and I apologize to my current subscribers for that. I'm happy to say this on the front end. Those long-form videos are still coming. My last few videos were detailed breakdowns of Halo games, and the feedback around them was really great, pretty positive for the most part. I've been quietly chipping away at more videos focused on Halo and on other franchises I enjoy, so if you were here for those all along, stay tuned. But after some heavy consideration, I've decided it's time to broaden the type of content that I'll be bringing to this channel. I want to make more videos on a regular basis, so I'll be aiming to make more varied and topical uploads from here on out. Sometimes the first incarnation of something doesn't quite work, so I've also ultimately decided that it's time to rebrand for future uploads. After this video, this channel will change from Andy and Friends to Northward Entertainment. Thank you for all of the kind support I got last year. It was really great, and I really had some things put in perspective for me, and here's to making what we can out of 2020. Now on to the video. Now, rumors about a potential Mass Effect Trilogy Remaster have basically been circulating all year, but recently there was a definitive statement from Jeff Grubb on VentureBeat's website, and it rekindled recent coverage. He basically came right out and said, oh yeah, that remaster that EA is working on, yeah, that's Mass Effect, just so you know, and he just kind of dropped it like a bomb. So even though this was a brief mention, it definitely sent shockwaves around the community and kicked off a bunch of other coverage about the potential remaster. I'm going to include a link in the description to Jeff's article where this is literally just sort of the ending point for everything else that he was talking about. It's also worth noting that EA Play 2020 is taking place tomorrow on June 18th in place of their showcase at E3 since it was cancelled. I wouldn't normally pay attention to this kind of event for EA because I don't particularly love them as a company, but because of the potential Mass Effect news, I will be tuned right in. This all brings us to a Reddit post that surfaced on a number of subreddits today. These posts were written by username aspiretobegood, who claims to be a QA tester for EA who is leaving his position soon. Now, it's worth noting that what he describes in these posts is more of a remake instead of a remaster, which is what the rumors have been, that these games are being remastered. A remake being a new version of an old game that has updated gameplay, updated assets, and generally changes the flow of the game potentially, whereas a remaster is just a fresh coat of paint and usually means that the game's going to perform better. So just worth knowing before we actually rip this apart. As a brief introduction, he states that the announcement for the Mass Effect Trilogy Remaster would be taking place after EA Play 2020 so that Electronic Arts can show off their actual new IPs, their new big blockbuster games that we haven't exactly heard of or seen anything on yet. He talks about how the game has been updated in the Frostbite engine, which is the engine that EA currently has most of their teams designing games on. And he states that multiple studios in EA's employ are making the game working closely with BioWare, as well as other studio heads at BioWare being involved in this task. Now, this post is very long, so rather than go through it and rip it apart line by line, I'm just going to kind of give you an overhead of some of the pros and cons, and then include a link to the actual post on Reddit in the description of the video. So for pros, when you look at this user's account, they are using a burner account which is less than a day old as of right now, and I understand why they would do this. Anytime that you are testing a game, you are going to be signing a non-disclosure agreement to not talk about the game and not leak details on it, because that potentially ruins anything that they have invested in the actual reveal or unveiling of this game, especially an IP as big as Mass Effect. We also have a good laundry list of things that Mass Effect fans want, including updated graphics, reworked gameplay for Mass Effect 1, and refined planetary exploration. He speaks about updated hub areas, for example talks about how the Citadel in Mass Effect 2 would be gaining the wards and the Presidium from the first game, which were absent in the Mass Effect 2 build of the Citadel. He also talks about all of the expansions and DLC being included as base content, along with some cut content that will add on a few hours to each game respectively. He talks about more nuanced squad interactions for shipmates in Mass Effect 1 and at the ending of Mass Effect 3, and just generally makes it sound like the big list of things that they're doing here are things that Mass Effect fans have more or less been asking for from a remaster. Now, moving on to the cons, this is a burner account, which also means that we cannot fact-check this user at all. You either take his word and run with it, or you can easily point the flaws out in his logic and use any one of them to discredit what he is trying to say. He suggests numerous times that the graphics will be on par with Dragon Age Inquisition, which is not a bad-looking game by any means, but it is almost 6 years old, meaning that we wouldn't be getting true next-generation graphics with this remaster if this user is to be believed. One oddity for me was that I first saw this on r/Mass Effect Andromeda, which is odd as the main Mass Effect sub is just r/Mass Effect. It has a much bigger population and far more people who are engaged with the community there. However, it is worth pointing out that since I first read it, this post has surfaced on a number of other subreddits, so take that all with a grain of salt. Now, it's also worth noting here, again, that his actual description is that of a remake instead of a remaster. That could debunk this because a remake takes considerable resources that BioWare might not have at the moment, given that they are completely reworking Anthem and working on the untitled Dragon Age 4 at this exact point in time as well. And finally, the user is predicting an announcement on N7 Day, that being November 7th of this year. Other sources have said that the ME Trilogy Remaster would be released in fall 2020, not announced in fall 2020, so this is in direct contrast to the majority of reports that are out there. Meaning that if this person is not an insider, that they are completely off base with this claim. So really, if any of this person's points get proven false, it's going to be really easy to discredit this entire post. Many people have called this user out as a high-effort troll, and some people think the remaster does not and will not exist, and I understand their skepticism. But I also want to remind people of a quote from the N7 Day trailer for Andromeda before it released. It's narrated by Jennifer Hale, one of the voices of Commander Shepard.
We have no choice but to try. For our insatiable curiosity. For our fear of what should happen if we don't. You are that explorer now. We will say goodbye, and you will look back one last time. And know that wherever you go, we will be with you.
That could have meant absolutely nothing at the time, but even if it did, rewatching that trailer now and hearing those words should remind everyone that what we're potentially waiting for here is something worth being hopeful for. Honestly, the Mass Effect community has kind of been tortured for a few years now, and we are long overdue for some good news. This is a game series that I'm super passionate about, and I always will be. When I was younger, I thought Halo had a great story. Those were the first games I really got into that had a story. It's great and all, but Mass Effect taught me what video games as a medium were capable of with storytelling. No other game has impacted me the same way since. Maybe I'm showing bias by wanting these things to be true and gullible for believing parts of it, but I've been waiting for a remaster announcement for years, literal years, and recent signs at least point to one existing. Mass Effect Andromeda was divisive, it had a rough launch scarred by technical issues, and I don't hate Andromeda. It might have been a passable game, but I do not consider it a good Mass Effect game. And we all know that given the train wreck that was Anthem's launch and really its continued existence, sadly, that BioWare could really use the positive publicity of bringing back these games. And that's really why I think this actually is the perfect time for a remaster. It would be a smart move for them to reintroduce fans to the Mass Effect universe, remind them why they loved it, and maybe introduce a whole new group of people to these amazing games before a new console generation, and remind people just in general what made Mass Effect amazing in the first place. Anyways, these are all just theories, guys. This entire video could be completely obsolete in 24 hours, this entire leak could just be nonsense, etc. But I'm staying hopeful. I just want these games to exist. I want the remaster to exist. It would really be one of the happiest moments I've had for games in a long time, just hearing that it officially is real and that it does, in fact, simply exist. So anyways, what do you guys think of the potential remake or remaster? Is this something that you want to see, and do you think that any of the recent rumors or reports are true? I'll be ready to talk to people about their thoughts and opinions on any of this. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to anyone who has stuck with me. I look forward to seeing what lies ahead, and I will be here with more content soon.